Well, hello. Rob Grimes with the IFBTA and Brian Pearson with the IFBTA. Hey, that's pretty good, huh?
Welcome to the NRA, guys.
Our chapter chair for Southern California and also with Stacked Restaurants. So, welcome.
Thanks very much.
So
Glad
it's
to be
good
here.
to see you here. So we intentionally decided to stand where we are right now in Startup Alley.
Yes.
Okay. So the fun part is that the NRA has brought some startup companies here that have different technologies. So what we thought we'd do is just sort of take a walk through, see what we think, and just sort of chat about it.
Yeah,
See what's
sounds
here.
good. Well, Rob, I've seen everything from kind of the entry-level CRM systems to POS, kiosks. Essentially, what these guys are all trying to get at is how do they service our restaurant industry in their own little unique ways. And I've seen some interesting things, so we'll take a look.
They're good ideas, right?
There are definitely some good ideas.
Okay.
There's some that still have a little ways to go, but
All right,
they're
well, we
interesting.
can dig into that. So,
All right.
So I talked to these guys yesterday, the Orderly guys, and they're the guys that scan. I don't know if you got to see them.
I have not yet.
So they scan invoices, so the invoices go into the system. And what they're giving is they're giving item level detail of what's there, so you know your purchasing preferences. Software as a service model,
Okay.
and they're charging, if I remember correctly, something like $150 a month for one service and $150 a month for the data service if you want the data.
Now, I am seeing a lot of that. So a lot of these providers are coming in and they're saying it's $150 for our base product, and then if you want to add this feature and this feature, it's another 50, another 50, another 50. So some pretty interesting pricing models. I mean, obviously, they can get into the smaller
Right.
units with that. It is also interesting is Orderly now I would take as an example of somebody bridging a gap that exists today. So we've got our big providers who do the EDI.
Right.
And that's great for the Cisco's of the world and US Foods of the world. But for your bread guy, he's never going to send
But
you an
that's a
EDI
good
invoice.
perspective because they don't actually have a back office system themselves where they're doing the inventory and ordering.
Yep.
But what they're doing is they're taking it off of they're not doing par stock and the ordering,
Right.
but they're taking it off the invoices itself and then
Yep.
giving you your data.
Yeah, definitely a gap type of system.
Right. This one here, Swift9, I talked to them yesterday. It's sort of like group ordering, but it's not traditional group ordering like a Panera would do group ordering, where the concept is that they would have people get together and say, we're going to go eat at this restaurant. Make the reservation, invite everybody to join them, and either would have a host or they would have each pay as their own, but they pay before they get there.
Okay.
And then when they get there, the whole idea is, and their sign is talking about table turns being faster, their whole idea is to go ahead and cut the table turn time so you don't have to sit and wait in line
Right.
for a seat, but also when you get seated, you're going to get your food.
Yeah, no, I did get a chance to take a look at them as well. One of the challenges is this could also be seen as a gap player, right? But they don't really have necessarily integrations that we all need, and they don't really make it so that it's a seamless snap-on. It would be akin to bringing on another third-party provider like
Right.
a Grubhub or like a Postmates or somebody like that. It could give a smaller operator some added capabilities, and it could give a smaller operator some good marketing.
Well, there's probably some pieces that are missing to it, but if you think about it, the idea of booking a reservation, knowing a person's going to come, they paid in advance, so I guess they're showing up,
Certainly.
right? But the downside is the lack of integration with the point of sale. How do you time the orders really, especially if you don't see people exactly when they're supposed to, and potentially losing revenue
Yep.
if you can't upsell and you can't sell somebody, something.
Well,
on
and one of the
right?
material weaknesses that I found personally, you talked about timing the orders. They don't take into account the peak periods, right? So it doesn't matter. They're going to send the order in at the same speed,
Right.
whether it's at 1 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Very different segments, as you and I both know.
Well, and that is very tough, and some people have tried to tackle that in the past.
Indeed.
There's a few people here who are offering let me just say what they believe to be next generation, right? So we just passed a company that was, I'm not saying that they're not, right?
Right.
But that's saying that they have a very unique kiosk solution. And the unique kiosk solution, I talked to them about it, is that they're doing facial recognition.
Yes.
Now, I do know that somebody was trying to do facial recognition using Facebook in there and got in trouble for that because they were
Yes.
putting cameras on the doors. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work out, but their idea is that they use facial recognition also to tell the age, the sex, and everything, and try to do the preferences. And that's why the kiosk is unique.
Interesting.
But it's not a mobile platform, it's a
Yeah,
kiosk platform.
it'll be interesting to see what kind of challenges they come up against. It is an elective system, so you are walking into it. It's not passive like you would expect a camera to be in the restaurant when you're just walking around. So I think they could cover themselves on some aspects,
Right.
but I do see some other challenges that come up when you start dealing with facial recognition.
Right. Now, the company behind us, Solito, they are doing a point of sale. They're from the New York market. They have a lot of restaurants in the New York market. It's a iPad-based point of sale system. I did ask them the other day as to what the points of differentiation were, and they had a complete system, that was offering all the way across the board. My question then followed, which was, well, do other companies have complete systems or not? But it's a different system, and they've got some traction going on, especially in the New York market. But there's clearly that's a very competitive space.
Yeah, everybody feels the need to have a mobile strategy right now. So I think any of the operators you talk to, if they have more than 2 units, their leadership is pushing them to have a firm mobile strategy. And in a lot of ways, they're trying to make it part of this POS thing. The challenge will be for them is, can they get over the hump of all of the investment that all these companies that have been established already have in place?
Right. Now, did you get a chance to take a look at this one?
I have not looked at Tappiness yet.
So we covered it. Yeah. So we covered. Well, it is. We covered a few years ago one of the shows, a company called Happy or Not. Okay. Which, if you go if you go to Heathrow Airport and you get out of Heathrow Airport, they've got all these things that are. I was there last week, so I remember that they have stadiums have it, right? And you tap it. Now the difference is that this is the same type of technology, but it's different in a couple ways. It does the second level, and so when you go through the initial level piece, if you choose bad, for instance, it'll sort of give you the idea of what's. There you go. It'll give you the idea of what is exactly bad, with a few limited choices. Sure. Now the question, you're not going to get customers to do more than a couple levels and probably more than a couple questions, but that second level answer with the data analytics in the back of the screen that they're doing is probably enough to give you a better piece of information than just hitting, the smiley face, right?
And I think it really does get at customer sentiment, right? Which is, the customer sentiment is, are those people coming back? And when your top box scores start to get in that 75th, 80th percentile, if your customers are going to come back. So you're able to very quickly evaluate how your restaurants are doing on the customer sentiment
side.
Well,
I talked to them, so I talked to, we'll go over and take a look at this one. Sure. I talked to them about that. And, I said, so how are you tying to a guest check or something? And they said, well, the idea is not to tie to the guest check because people don't have time. So this is a simple way, especially if you're maybe a fast casual concept and you're on the way out the door, to at least get that read that you're probably not going to get somebody to call in and do.
Yeah, it does give you that opportunity, but I question, do they have enough integration to really alert the manager enough to make sure the manager can do something about it before they leave, or is it really just extraneous information?
Right. Now, there are a number of companies here that are doing planning and employee scheduling.
Yes.
Obviously, the big dog, who's within about 50 feet of us, is here as well. But it seems that throughout the tech pavilion, I probably run into about 6 or 7 companies all focused on employee scheduling.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw that.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is I think I've seen 10 so far.
10.
And they all have varying levels of integration with time and attendance, labor and scheduling management, HRIS. They're kind of all over the board. With some of these offerings, though, you're getting at the core of what our 50,000-pound gorilla was at when they first started, which was allowing employees to interact with one another and having a little bit of interaction with the restaurant operations executive.
Right. Now, one of the interesting things about so there's 50,000-pound gorillas and 50,000-pound gorillas. So there's another company here that's based in Seattle that has 4 colored dots or squares in their logo that is here. And what did they tell me? So we went into their booth, and what are they showing? A new product for the food service industry for labor scheduling for employees that's embedded in Microsoft Office.
Wow.
And they figure embedded, the employees are on it, that they're going to be the next generation thing. So we're not exactly sure, maybe which gorilla is going to lose weight and gain weight on this one, right?
Well, if you've already got that much adoption and that much use, it'll be interesting to see how that battle goes.
Now, these guys were interesting. Did you get a chance to see this?
Joy, I haven't seen these guys yet.
So these guys are actually going ahead and they're gamifying things. But what they're doing is they're putting the game coupons and things into the games themselves. So you actually go ahead and you play a game, and as you hit certain hurdles, you might get a reward, like up on their board, they're showing a free sandwich as you play the game. So for hitting certain hurdles. It's not what some people showed a few years ago where you're doing like an ad that says, here's a pizza, click on that, it takes you out the pizza, because that's out there too. This is actually having people embed the rewards into the games. As you hit certain levels, you get certain rewards and things.
So
and coupons.
Is it like an augmented reality play?
No, it's not augmented reality.
Okay.
It's a play where you just earn the reward and it comes up on your screen and you can redeem.
Gotcha.
As you play the game, so you choose what games you want to play. It's not augmented reality.
Okay.
It could be.
Right. Well, I think of like the Pokemon play right now with an advertisement at every Starbucks and in every restaurant they can get it. This is the kind of thing that really pulls people in. And you almost wonder, this game is specifically targeted at the restaurants
Right.
and their offerings, whereas Pokemon is really just targeted at getting people in, right?
Absolutely. Well, so obviously there's a lot of interesting things that are here, right?
Absolutely.
And I guess it'd be interesting to predict, how they make it or how they don't, which is why you go to CES and you look at this stuff as well, right?
So far what I've seen is those players right now that are actually bridging a gap that exists versus creating some new solution for us. I feel like they'll have the shortest term likelihood of adoption.
Right.
Because they're fixing problems that currently exist. I think what we've also seen is quite a few solution providers fixing problems that we don't know exist yet.
Right. Well, that's true. So there's a lot of interesting things besides all the traditional people that are here as well.
Yeah.
So let me just ask you, so in your role with the IFBTA, has it been fun? What are you getting out of it for volunteering your time to actually lead one of the hot restaurant spots in the country, Southern California?
Yeah, for the IFBTA, the goal here is a completely different thing that I have as my restaurant operator hat. So as a restaurant operator, I'm always looking for solutions to problems here. In my IFBTA role, I'm looking at building partnerships with people that will allow me to kind of tackle my problems in a different way. We just had an IFBTA chapter meeting recently, and what you end up with is this type of group think where you're talking to people who've dealt with many of the problems you've already had in different ways. And that conversation allows us to kind of tackle the problem a little bit more efficiently. And also we've got the camaraderie of people dealing with the same life's issues that we deal with every day. So it's a completely different thing. And I am meeting a lot of new operators, people from all over the country. And it's funny because it's a very common theme. We all want to kind of build our community a little bit stronger. And I think when you go into it with that, we're all hospitality people, right? And so at the core of our business, we're hospitality people. We want to have positive experience with others. And I think it makes it nice that we can talk the same language.
And it works, I think it probably fits up very well with organizations like the NRA itself, who focus on the bigger picture items for the industry.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times the IT professionals, also want to share ideas and get in there as well. So it works out well, to marry up with what the NRA does with their IT study group, what they do here at the show, and then also the States.
I'll give you a great example. I was at a booth with an operator for restaurant industry recently. And we both walked up to the booth at the same time. He was looking for a POS. I'm looking for KDS alternatives always, and just looking for what solutions are out there. And we stood in the same conversation and heard the sales pitch. He asked questions that I hadn't thought of. I asked questions he hadn't thought of. And that is exactly at the heart of the IFBTA and why I feel like there's so much power in the organization.
Well, great. It's great to have you on board, and it's great to take at least a partial walk of the Startup Alley here and sort of compare notes. We'll have to do this again.
Look forward to talking again soon, Rob. Thank you.
Great. Rob Grimes with the IFBTA with Brian Pearson of the IFBTA and having fun here in Startup Alley at the NRA show.